In this movie, we're going to discuss how to deal with reading that includes charts, diagrams, formulas, or any other situations where you need to analyze something. First off, let's think about how many people approach this kind of situation. They're reading through their material and at some point they encounter text that reads something like, refer to figure 2.4. Then they continue reading the paragraph or page and eventually they'll stop to analyze figure 2.4. Have you ever looked at the diagram and had trouble understanding it? It could be because it's very complex, but we still need to have a way of understanding the information. So it comes down to this: when should you look at the diagram? At the end of the sentence or paragraph? At the end of the page? When you encounter it? Here's what I suggest you do. The moment you read the words refer to figure 2.4, you should stop reading and refer to 2.4. Now, I know this sounds obvious, but that's not what most people do. Most people are reading along, and the moment it says refer to figure 2.4, they go, yeah, and they keep on reading without looking at the diagram. This is an issue. So when the text tells you to refer to a diagram or chart, look at it briefly, just to get a first impression. Then read the next sentence, and it might say something like, figure 2.4 shows the relationship between blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. At this point, you should stop reading and check the diagram to see if you can visually confirm this information. Once you confirm it visually, read the next sentence. It might say, additionally, figure 2.4 also shows blah, 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 blah. Again, you would stop reading after getting this tidbit of information and check the diagram to see if it's true. Notice how we're going back and forth between reading and checking the diagram. This might seem like a choppy way of reading, but it's an important way to boost your comprehension when dealing with charts and diagrams. Have you ever heard the expression, a picture is worth 1,000 words? Anytime you can confirm information by seeing it visually through a diagram, that helps your comprehension tremendously. You would stop referring to the diagram after the text stops referring to it. This is a great way to enhance your comprehension when dealing with charts and diagrams. Most of the techniques we described in this course can be applied to reading on a tablet, but there are some situations where you need to make adjustments for touchscreens like the iPad or the Kindle. Earlier in this course, we talked about how using your hand as a guide can help you concentrate better, and thus improve your reading speed. On a tablet, this obviously is problematic. So instead of using your hand as a pacer, you can try using the opposite end of a pen to guide your eyes. Just move the pen smoothly and lightly across the screen so you don't scratch the surface. This can be a useful alternative, but what if you don't have a pen? Or what if it just isn't practical for you to use a pen? You can also use a speed reading technique that involves the use of fixation points. Here's how the technique works. You pick 2 or 3 fixation points on the line and focus your eyes on these points to read groups of words at a time. For example, if your lines are somewhat narrow, let's say you have somewhere between 7 to 10 words per line, you would make 2 fixation points, one at the first half of the line and one on the second half of the line. The first fixation point should be about 3 or 4 words from the left, and your second fixation point should be 3 or 4 words from the right end of the line. Your eyes fixate on these imaginary points, bouncing from one point to the next, grabbing groups of words along the way. If your lines are longer, say 10 or more words per line, you might want to consider 3 fixation points, one at the beginning, one in the middle, and one at the end. When you're reading this way, with fixation points, you're training your eyes to read groups of words, and you can speed up your reading without having to use your hand as a guide. This technique is especially useful for tablets like the iPad and Kindle. If you have one, try it out for yourself and see how it works.